With the weather starting to clear up, I finally got some time to work on this thing. Now, if you remember during the unboxing, there were 2 sinkholes in the rear deck lid. There are also sinkholes on these areas in front of the rear vents. I was watching through the viewfinder during the unboxing, so I'm not really that surprised I didn't see them. But here they are, plain as day, and we're going to address them. There's also an area here where the rearview mirror goes. Running my finger over it, it doesn't feel low or anything's out of place. Not sure what's going on there. Alright, first things first though, this body as it sits is very flimsy, so I'm going to get all the bumpers and everything on to stiffen this up a bit. Now most of this body's held together with screws and I don't like that. I'm unable to tighten them down all the way to really suck that bumper in, because once they reach a certain point, it just starts twisting the body and not really drawing the screw in. So I will get them as deep as I can get them to go without distorting the body, then I'll just glue it in from there. And I was hoping on the rear bumper, if I drove the screws in beforehand, it would cut those threads in and it'd be a lot easier to torque them down on the body. Nope, those tabs just broke off. So I got the one glued in the best I could to match it up with the other one. It's not perfect, but it's the best I can do. And since these just slide on, I'm going to leave the screws right where they are and use them really as like alignment dowels and just glue it in. These screws were a stupid idea. I'm not really sure where the gluing in of these side skirts kind of falls into place as far as the video goes. So you'll see a few little segments up ahead where they're not in place. So I just put it here because I didn't know where else to put it. Now, with the body stiffened up a bit, I feel a whole lot better about some aggressive sanding on this to get these pinholes filled in. And I, of course, am going to use some good old-fashioned super glue to do that. Just a little bitty dollop spread evenly across, mostly just to fill in that deep spot. When you're done, it should look something like this. And then you just sand all that down until it's flush with the body. Now, being that the glue is a different material than the actual plastic, you can still see where it is. However, as a little sanity check, just spray a bit of primer on it. You won't even know it's there. Being that this kit has all the parts for all the previous models and different trim levels, I would very much like to retain this wing because I like the way it looks. I'm going to get it lined up where I think it should go, then I'm going to do just a very tiny light scribe on this. And all I'm really doing is just putting a little bitty scribe mark in the primer that we shot on this when we were doing the sanity check for those pinholes. So from there, I'm just gonna go down just a few millimeters and kind of cut myself in a little pilot hole to make drilling a little bit easier later. And from that mark on the other side, I will go down another couple millimeters and do another pilot hole. And I'm not sure why, but whenever I do this, I will always stagger my pinholes. Maybe it adds a bit more strength. I don't know. It's just something I've always done. Now, once I get my holes drilled, I will tape the wing on exactly where I want it. Then I will go through those holes and drill up into the wing from the bottom side. Now, the body structure was really in my way, so I just did the best I could to go up through those holes and make a mark. Then I just drilled the wing once it was off the body. And I sourced my pins using the staple from the parts bag. I'll just glue them in and then cut it off real short. Just about 1 millimeter is really all you need sticking out. Just something to help you locate it later. Now don't laugh, but I wasn't paying attention and I was trying to put this on backwards. There we go. Fits just a little bit better. Now, unlike the mirrors, which I also usually pin in, I do those for strength. This I'm doing just so that this will fall into place perfectly and I won't have to waste any time or cause any damage trying to locate it on a painted body. Now in this car, the trunk, or boot as some people call it, is actually the center section between the headlights. So we need to fill in these gaps on the outside. Only problem being, I am out of super glue, so... oh, I'm gonna use some body putty. Now, this stuff really is easy to work with. It just takes forever to dry and it tends to shrink, so you got to do the process multiple times. Now, just like I did with the sink marks on the body, fill it in, sand it, fill it in again, sand it. Just a lot of filling and sanding. Splat. And also, just like the sink marks on the body, as a sanity check, once you think you got it where you need it to be, spray some primer on it, because nothing will hide from primer. Now, those little inserts in place, we can finally move on to primer. Now I'll do about 2 or 3 coats here. The body's already got some primer on it from checking all of our body work. But after that, I'll set it aside, let it dry for about an hour, then I'll move on to paint. As usual, the painting process, I will always do the little wheel wells, little nooks and crannies, things that are often overlooked. I will do them first just to get them out of the way, because I will forget about them as I start moving along. purple, in my experience, it goes on very thin and translucent, so you gotta do many thin layers. If you try to go heavy, it's just gonna look blotchy and it's not gonna be very even, so take your time. Now, this paint also has just a very small hint of color shift in it, as well as metallic flake. So take your time and do it right, because it is not forgiving in the least bit. I don't know if you could hear that in the background, but I finally got an exhaust system set up for my little paint booth here. Here we are though. This is about 7 very thin light coats. It was a lot, and I lost count. As far as the photo etch goes, I will not be using the crest or the Marcello Gandini designer badge. These spots are already raised on the body, and I didn't sand them down beforehand, so if I use these, they'll just be double raised and look stupid. Now, right in here is where things started to take forever. Here I'm blowing off about 2 weeks worth of dust and debris. This is right when things started to get nice after the negative 30-degree weather, the snowstorms, the rolling blackouts, just everything you love about winter. Now, as usual, I will do just a very small mist coat over all the decals. The 2K clear I use is very chemically hot. If you lay the clear on very heavy right off the bat, it will literally burn those decals. So we do the thinner mist coats just to protect the decals. I waited about 15 minutes between layers. I'm finally ready to spray the final coat now. I'm noticing this is not going on as level as it usually does, and it's looking really rough. And I have a sneaking suspicion that it has something to do with the humidity from all the snow melting outside. So I'm doing an extra coat here just to have more material to sand it all back and smooth it out. So this is it all dry. Notice how rough and nasty it is. You could also notice all the color shifting in the paint. Whenever I was researching Lamborghini colors to paint this, One of the Lamborghini forums said that this was the most difficult color to lay out. I guess all chameleon paints are like that. I don't know, I didn't really have a problem laying it out. Anywho, it's time to get sanding. It's been a few hours, but this is where we're at. I'd say it cleaned up fairly well. You'll see here, different lighting really affects this color dramatically. That's the end though, guys. I want to thank you for sticking around, giving me a chance to finish this with all the weather. And if you haven't yet, check out the Model Showdown on Facebook.